Good morning. I'm Denise Dryden. I do these weekly videos here in Montana. I was putting together a lot of interesting little pieces over this week leading up to the eclipse and watching things sort of drop in. And, you know, what I wanted to talk about is that our nervous system connects us to our body, to our soul, and it can be influenced, it can be quieted, and it can be hijacked. So today I'm going to take a little stretch and talk about some of the things I've been putting together about the nervous system and share them with you, right? So I'm going to weave together some of these pieces of wisdom. And I'm super thrilled that you're here, that you're curious, and that you came on to watch this. So like, subscribe, share, because, you know, I'm thinking I'm ramping up. I need to start putting things out there in a less cautious way and go directly after it. So I'm listening to Alex Collier last week, and he says that the soul and the body are connected through our nervous system. That it's the nervous system that binds the soul with the avatar, with the bodysuit, with the life, the human life that we have, right? And so that our nervous system is the body's communication system. It's the boss, right? It's the boss of the body. It's this very sophisticated energetic system that monitors and manages and constructs what we do, who we are, right? And our nervous system regulates our body's response both in the internal and in the external. So, you know, that was interesting to me. I don't think I knew the extent at which the soul and the body had to interconnect, and it was through the nervous system, which immediately jumped me over to Chiron, which is the asteroid that I found about 4 years ago, and started using it in my coaching because it gives me a really good idea where some of the patterns are that affect sensitives and empaths. And, you know, like, what are some of the ways that we can come at this with some wisdoms that are beyond, you know, what our observation can do. So Chiron can come in because it represents the wounded healer, and Chiron rules the nervous system. So out of all of the systems, all the planets that run it, Chiron rules the nervous system. And I'm like, there it is. So if our wounds show up in our nervous system, and our nervous system can take us in or out of our body, it makes sense that we want to pay attention to this, right? So there we have, you know, Alex Collier with the soul, we have Chiron in sort of understanding the role of the nervous system. And then I want to put in something I've talked about several times, which is form follows thought. When we think about something, we start to bring it into a construct, either inside our body or outside our body, and then we start noticing it. We think of a red Volkswagen. I always wanted a red Volkswagen, and all of a sudden we start to see, in the summertime, I start to see red Volkswagens around, and I'm like, wow, how did I not see these before? So form follows thought, right? What we think shows up within us and around us. And then there's lots of research that talks about the idea that when we pull up a memory, a trauma, an event, an accident, an argument, anything, that our body will go into the visceral response to that. Our body doesn't know the difference between the thought and the actual event. So if form follows thought, it means that our thoughts can cause our nervous system to go into reaction, whether it's real or not real, whether it's just in our heads, right? So our thoughts take form in our nervous system, and our nervous system gets activated, reacted into reaction, into overwhelm based on our thoughts. Oh, wow. So this is where it gets interesting, is that it's easy to condition us into responses and reactivities or reactivation by triggers, whether it's mind control, whether it's commercials that invite us to do something, whether it's reminders over and over in the news of the things that we need to be doing. So what happens is we have conditioned thoughts that control our nervous system. Our brain and thoughts can be conditioned by design. One of the earlier discoveries I made was that a lot of our American education system was based on the fact that between the ages of 5 and 12, for 9 months out of the year, with the intention the human body could be conditioned into a response to authority. And that was, really startling to me, that part of our education system is that we are being conditioned into responding to authority, whether it's in a work environment, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in the military, whatever form it takes, right? That there's a conditioned response to someone in authority. So some of these reactions that we have can be in overwhelm. We can say it's anxiety, and we can feel the tensions in our bodies. Action, there's a flooding of something and it's moving around us. And there's also a reaction to fear, where we grip, where our entire adrenals start to go into fight or flight, right? So these are reactions that can be cultivated because our nervous system can be hijacked. I'm seeing a lot of higher levels of highly sensitive and empathic children, parents discovering it. It's almost like when Elaine Aron started the book of Highly Sensitive Person in 1997. It didn't take off real well, but it did. However, what I would say is that from 2015 forward, those numbers are increasing dramatically. And so what I've been doing is putting a lot of my focus in my coaching practice towards what happens when a sensitive gets overwhelmed, and what are the symptoms, and what are the skill sets of someone who's highly observant, intelligent, bright, who can get hijacked by either old traumas in their body, in their family's body, their family lineage, and sort of how to guide through these stages of overwhelm. And Erin does a really good job of breaking down the DOES, depth of processing, overstimulation, emotions, and senses, right? So that's really good information to go towards. The last piece that dropped in my lap 2 days ago came from a woman that I follow, and it was a comment in a post that I think she made last March. And it was just sort of right up there in my feed, and I read it, and it was interesting that they have recently, I don't want to get in trouble with Facebook, so I'm trying to figure out how to say this. There's been recent released medical reports showing that the nervous system has been the second largest adverse effect of our current pharmaceutical choices. So the things that we are doing in order to stay healthy are directly influencing or causing damage to our nervous system. So our nervous system connects our soul and our wisdom to our body. It is what helps us embody. It can be influenced, it can be hijacked, it can even be tampered with through drugs, foods, behaviors, environments. So now that we know how valuable this nervous system is, right? And there's these pieces hanging out there that give us perspectives from a lot of different angles, I'm going to create some tips. And before I go into the tips, what I want to do is talk to you about I started Tuesday's Tools, which is at 10 a.m. on Tuesday morning on the 7th. It follows every Sunday presentation, and the tools are meant to take 4 people, first come, first serve, in a workshop through 75 minutes of diving into these tools, getting to personally use them, expanding perspectives, and sort of playing with things as a small group. So if you want in on that, I'm going to put the link underneath any of these videos you're on, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can get to that Tuesday Tools. So if that's something you're interested in, please sign up for that. So I have 6 tools for you today, okay? So the first one is get curious about this nervous system activation. What does it feel like? What happens when you get into this process, or the steps of, first this happens, then this happens, then this happens. Over the last, because we've been in an eclipse tunnel between the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse, I had a lot of clients talking to me about their raised agitation and anxiety. So some of the words that they used was that I get really swirly. Things start to swirl. I have this unpleasant dread or inner turmoil going on. I feel overwhelmed, like everything just builds up and there's fire inside of me. I feel squirmy. I feel frantic, agitated. And so what we want to do is we want to, instead of going, oh, there it is, and pushing it away, we want to go, what is it really? Is it squirmy or is it swirly? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it emotional? What is it? Is it mental? Did something happen outside, right? So then number 2 is explore where it originates, because it's really important to track it. So is it coming from your head? Is it coming from your senses, smells, taste, the environment? Is it coming from emotions from people around you? Because it could be started through an activity or an event, or it could come from a person, place, or thing, or it could come from a show or it's something that you watched that triggered a mental spin and process of, oh no, what if that happens? What if, and we start to spin into that swirl. So number 2 is to explore where it originates. That makes sense, right? Number 3, once you have an idea of where it originates, now you get fun and you start to ask it questions. And I ask all of these questions to my body through yes and no's, using something like, is it in my highest interest to track this? Is it from this source? Is it from that source? And so everything that can be answered with a very firm yes or no, right? Is this mine? Did it come from someplace else? Did it start here? Or did it start in another place? Is it related to this person? Is it related to this television show? Is it related to this classroom I'm in, or this job that I have, or this relationship that I have? Is this a pattern? Because I feel this frequently, and this pattern comes up when I'm at, say, school for a lot of teen HSPs. What is the pattern? And what can I do to calm it down, right? What triggered this? And so if it's triggered, I know now that I can bring it into a little bit more balance. Number 4, deepen your coping skills. And so you can take it in and bring it into your systems, right? So if this is, what we want to do is we want to create this thing that's going on, and we want to bring it into balance. We want to bring it into homeostasis. So sometimes that looks like counting, touching your fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. A lot of any of the anxiety exercises, any of the recovery exercises, these are all things that can help you. Breathing, counting your breath going up, counting your breath going down, expanding your breath so that you're more in your body with each breath that you take in. Walking in nature. Nature is an instant recalibrator. It's almost like every leaf, every tree has like this little mini, like a solar board that sort of hits you and your cells go, oh, I feel so much better, right? So take a walk in nature. Music, drawing, using some of those little coloring books that you can use. I use those sometimes when I don't know what else to do, right? Sometimes I'll do a big puzzle. So find something, go towards your coping skills and calm it down. Okay, number 5, when the system calms down, the soul becomes present. So it's as if, as you start to calm down, this soul inside of you starts to align with your body. And when it aligns with your body, your wisdom shows up. Your sense of intelligence, expansion, your perspectives, your perception, all of these things start to align with you. So when we calm our system down, we become really powerful, right? We're expanded in our wisdom. So we want to invite this in as much as we can. So, first is to, go find out, oh my gosh, this is happening. Explore where it comes from, ask it questions, use tools to calm it down, and then use that wise woman, that wise man, that wise, being inside of you to, guide you, right? Because when the soul is present, what I notice is that time slows down. Time is much more workable. Our perceptions open up and increase. Our compassion is present, and we have a overwhelming sense of acceptance for everything. This is a tarot card that I love, which is the magician, which is the first stage of our embodiment, which is I am one with everything. Our goal in any time when anxiety shows up or our nervous system gets activated is to find out how to get to this as much as we can. So this is the kind of stuff I'm having a blast exploring, and I'm doing a lot more coaching on it. So if you're interested, you can find me, get a hold of me. You can find me on DeniseDryden.com. Have a wonderful Sunday. I will see you next week. I have no idea where we're going with this, but something will pop up between now and then. You take care. See you next week. Bye-bye.